So, what is the holiday of Purim really all about? We're going to go into the deeper messages and meaning of the Jewish holiday of Purim and how it connects to the food that we're supposed to eat and the way that we're supposed to live. My name is Michael with Jewish Vegan Life, and we bring inspiring content at the intersection of Jewish life and food. So to really understand the holiday of Purim, we have to go to the story of Purim, which takes place 2,500 years ago in the ancient Persian Empire, when our people were exiled from Israel into Persia. And during that time, King Ahasuerus of Persia is looking for a new queen. And he finds his queen with Esther. Now, unbeknownst to him, Esther is Jewish, but her cousin Mordecai advises her not to reveal her Jewish identity so that she can protect her life, because at that time the Jewish community was persecuted throughout the world, and that's probably still the case in different parts of the world today. So Esther becomes queen, she moves to the palace, and during her time in the palace, the top advisor to the king, Haman, decides it's a good idea to do away with the Jewish people throughout the Persian Empire. So he hatches a plot that on the 14th day of the Hebrew month of Adar, the Jewish people are going to be annihilated. And Mordecai, Esther's cousin, learns of this plot. He informs the queen that she must tell the king what is going on, she must reveal her identity, and she must ask the king to save the Jewish people, to annul this edict from the Persian Empire. Now, understandably, Esther is quite afraid. One, because she has to reveal her identity, and number two, as she explains to Mordecai, there's a law in the Persian kingdom that whoever goes before the king unsummoned, the penalty for that is death. And she has not been summoned for 30 days. Now, the only exception to that law is if the king extends his scepter, then that person is granted life. But Mordecai informs her and reassures her by taking a step back, looking at the broader context and saying, perhaps this is the moment that you were chosen to become queen, because perhaps this is why you have become queen, to give you this opportunity to save the Jewish people from annihilation. So Esther decides to go before the king. She fasts together with the Jewish people for 3 days, and she goes before the king. And in a dramatic moment, the king extends his scepter, she's granted life, she reveals her identity, she reveals the plot, she asks the king to save the Jewish people, and as a result, the Jewish people are saved from destruction in the Persian Empire. Now, we know Purim as a holiday of eating hamantaschen and celebrating and drinking and partying and wearing masks, but clearly there's a much deeper message behind this holiday centered around courage and spiritual strength and revelation and redemption. So it's interesting, actually, this holiday begins with food. When we open the book of Esther, it opens with a lavish feast that King Ahasuerus hosts for all of the important officials throughout the Persian Empire. And we see a huge contrast between this lavishness and excess and consumerism of the Persian Empire and the restriction and restraint of Esther and her diet and her lifestyle. Her time as queen is really kind of an existential test as well, that tests the bounds of her identity. She defines it with her food. So what is it that really gives Esther the spiritual courage and strength to save the Jewish people in such a difficult time? she wasn't really groomed for leadership, like Moses was during his time, the Pharaoh's palace. Esther was really chosen, picked from the common people. And what we know, based on rabbinical commentary on the story of Esther, is that Esther, in order to maintain her kosher lifestyle, she chose a plant-based lifestyle in the palace, because she didn't have access to kosher food in the palace, so she basically ate legumes and seeds and fruits in order to maintain kashrut, basically choosing a vegan lifestyle. And it's no coincidence that this vegan lifestyle is what contributed to her having that clarity in her identity, having that moral strength and clarity that she needed to do the difficult thing at the difficult time. And it's also no coincidence that the next book in Tanakh, the next book in the Old Testament, is the book of Daniel. Daniel was perhaps one of the greatest prophets that ever lived in Jewish history, and he was also exiled at the time. For him, it was to the kingdom of Babylon, and Daniel was given a test, he along with his friends, to see if they would be advisors to the king of Babylon. Now, being in the palace of Babylon, Daniel also didn't have access to kosher food, so he and his friends adopted a plant-based lifestyle. And what do you know it? It says right in the book of Daniel, he and his friends looked healthier and were more vibrant and had more clarity than all of the other people that ate all the meat and cheese and dairy and so on, because they were following a vegan lifestyle. That is what gave Daniel the spiritual wisdom to be the wisest man in the kingdom of Babylon and to outshine all of the wise advisors of the king of Babylon. Now, we just also celebrated Hanukkah, and in the book of Maccabees, in the story of Hanukkah, we know that the Maccabees, who fought against the Greek Empire to win back Israel and win back Jerusalem for the Jewish people, when they were hiding in the caves from the Greek army, they didn't have access to kosher meat and kosher dairy, so they also adopted a plant-based lifestyle. And it is their vegan lifestyle that sustained them during their most difficult and strenuous days, fighting against the most powerful army in the world, which enabled them to win against the Greek army and win back Jerusalem and win back Israel for the Jewish people. So we see this pattern with Esther, with Daniel, with the Maccabees, how they adopted a plant-based lifestyle and during their most difficult and trying times, it sustained them and it gave them the strength that they needed to endure and to succeed. And the reason for that is because they were following the original plan that God had for humanity. It says in the first chapter of the first book of the Torah, in Genesis 1:29, God has a conversation with humanity, and he says, this is what you are to eat. I created you, and here's the food that I give you. You can eat the fruits, the seeds, and the plants, and the vegetables, everything that grows from the ground, not the animals, which were created to be our companions, not our food. And that was the original plan, and that's the original diet that we had in the Garden of Eden. And 1,000 years after the coming out of the Garden of Eden, maintaining that plant-based lifestyle, that vegan diet. And that is apparently, according to the prophet Isaiah, the lifestyle that we will revert to in the world to come. As Isaiah says, the lion will lie down with the lamb, meaning all of creation will again revert back to the plant-based lifestyle, that original design as herbivores that God designed us to be, that original design that God planned in the Garden of Eden. The world to come is something that doesn't have to be theoretical. We can bring the world to come with our choices now. We can bring the world to come by going plant-based and getting closer and closer to that world to come, just like Esther did, just like Daniel did, and just like the Maccabees did when they fought the most powerful army at the time in the world, and won. And this is really one of the hidden lessons of the story of Purim, that Esther's food choice, her diet, gave her that spiritual clarity and strength to persevere. Purim really is a story of hiddenness. It's a story of things that are hidden that need to be revealed. God's name, for example, never appears in the Megillah, never appears in the book of Esther, and his miracles need to be revealed through human action. And indeed, Esther had to reveal Haman's plot and save the Jewish people through her courage. So one of the questions that Purim asks of us is, what is it that is hidden? What are the hidden injustices in our life that we need to reveal in order to move forward and advance and grow? And one of the main things that's hidden from us, it's connected to our industrialization of our food system that has happened in the last 50 to 100 years. So today we are really unconnected to our food system like we were back in the days. Even 100 years ago, 50% of the US workforce were connected to farming. Today, less than 2% are farmers. So we're really not connected to the earth, we're not connected to agriculture, we're not connected to our food, we don't know where it comes from. And when we walk into a grocery store or supermarket and we see these neatly packaged meat products and fish and dairy and eggs, we don't see all of the cruelty that's hidden from us behind the slaughterhouse walls. We don't see all of the health consequences of eating animal products, all of the chronic disease from cancer to diabetes to heart disease and so on that's connected directly to animal products. We don't see environmental degradation that the animal agriculture industry is directly and is primarily contributing to, the deforestation, the leading cause of deforestation. Animal agriculture, the huge contributor to pollution, to greenhouse gases. We don't see any of those costs, and we don't see that spiritual numbing from eating unconsciously, from eating animal products, from being unconnected to our food and being unconnected to our food system. All of those costs are hidden from us, and wear a certain mask when we live this way. In Purim, we celebrate by wearing masks. Esther certainly wore a metaphorical mask during her first part of her time in the palace. She had to conceal her real identity, but eventually that mask had to come off. She had to remove that mask. She had to reveal her true identity and live according to her true self. And so what are the masks that we are wearing today? Are we masking how we feel about the food that we're eating, knowing the cruelty and suffering that's connected to dairy, to meat, to eggs, to the fish industry? Are we masking the spiritual consequences and the planetary consequences and the physical health consequences of eating animals? And is that a mask that we are ready to remove, to live authentically in accordance with our original design, just like Esther, just like Daniel, just like the Maccabees? Now, it takes a lot of courage sometimes to remove this mask, but courage is something that Esther and the story of Purim calls on us to step into. It took a lot of courage for Esther to risk her life to save the Jewish people. Certainly, that's something that's maybe difficult for people to relate to these days, how much courage that would take to risk one's life. But we don't have to risk our lives to go plant-based. In fact, we can save our lives and save the lives of so many creatures by going vegan. And in the process, we can step into our authentic selves. because veganism is the ultimate alignment. It is the ultimate living without that mask, by living according to the plant-based design that God had for humanity. So I encourage you, if you're not vegan yet, give it a try for a month. See the benefits of living a plant-based lifestyle. And if you are vegan, pass on this message, share this video, share your values with others to inspire them with this message as well. We need to be like Esther. We need to be courageous. We need to step into our authentic selves. Let's share this video, let's share this message, and then let's live our best Jewish vegan life. Chag Sameach, everybody.